Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. We're finally getting some bright sunshine in this lovely late summer day, and we have a lot of activity going on here amongst the bees. I'd say this is the most flying activity we've seen in this yard this summer. A bit overgrown. I should have brought the weed whacker with me, but we've got a bit of honey to take off, and I also want to see, we've taken off a lot of honey as well, and I want to see how those supers that we put on a couple of weeks ago are doing, if they're starting to fill them up. So we'll have a look round. We still have a fair amount of clustering here, so whilst it's pretty busy, we've still got an awful lot of clustering on the outside of the hive, which is disappointing. This clustering here, or bearding, would infer that there are not as many field bees out in the field as there could otherwise be. So this all this bearding would infer that there's not that strong honey flow on. But given all the flying activity, we certainly have some form of honey flow on. So we've got pretty good activity. I'd rather these bees all be out in the field. They'll be clustered here, but the majority are. So we'll have a look, see how things are going. We've been having a tremendous amount of high humidity weather recently, so we shall see what the consequences are. Are the bees going to be a little bit mean because they're having this they're still clustered here, or are most of those old grumpy bees out in the field for us? Use a bit of smoke. We'll have a look in these ones here. Well, we know the honey is off the hive. Now, the bees won't have been able to do much foraging over the last 2 to 3 days, hours-wise. But when I come across some drawn comb, I'd like to shake it to see if they're putting nectar in there. So they're not building any new comb. I put possibly 2 supers here. Let's have a quick look in here. This was totally empty. Whoops, a daisy. But it's 2/3 full of nectar, this frame, the built out frames. They're not drawing out the combs of foundation I can see in there, but I'm going to give this a shake. I don't see drops coming out, which would infer that the nectar that's in this frame here, which you'll probably be able to see, was collected not today but days previously, because they've already cured a lot of it. They've driven off a lot of the water content from this. Let's have a quick peek further down. If you get closer up, Jordan, again, there's a frame of foundation here which is not being built, but the other ones, they're certainly working on them, and I'm pretty sure there's a fair amount of honey in these, but what we need is some sustained honey flow for them to build comb. So I see progress. Certainly they've added honey up here, but not a great deal since we took the honey off about, I'd say 10 days ago on average. We took the honey off most of these, maybe 2 weeks ago. But this will vary from hive to hive depending on the field force. And of course how fully drawn the supers were that we put on here. This colony, they're working on most of the frames. Reasonable weight of honey in here. Still pretty dry, so in other words it's concentrated. Probably wasn't today's nectar, but they've only been able to fly for about 2 or 3 hours so far today. It might be different if I was checking this at 6 o'clock in the evening. But they're working on everything here. They seem to be very busy with a fair amount of, there's about 10 pounds in there. There's plenty of honey in this as well. Still not able to shake it out. There's another super below it, but we're looking okay. Just feel the weight like in this one. Oh, there's a good 25 pounds of honey here. And just by the look of things here, well, we are getting comb drawn. You can see the comb being drawn up into this super. This looks like it's got a fair amount of honey in it, although it could be one from that was left behind when I took one of the other supers off. But this looks pretty heavy. This is pretty full. Let's just get an idea of what we have in this hive above the. It's hard to describe what I know when I'm looking at this super, that it looks full of honey, but it's hard to describe because everything is now yellow. I can see some capped honey here. It's yellow because of the pollen. This super, which is a shallow, weighs about 25 pounds or so, and they only hold about 25 pounds of honey. So given the weight of the super, I can tell that this is 3/4 full. So that super is 3/4 full. I'd say 20 pounds of honey out of the 25. This one, don't want to tip it upside down. Oh. There's probably 25 pounds of honey in this, which is a medium. It'll hold another 10. And about 10 in here. So they've still got plenty of room. They are filling it up, but they're filling it up throughout the brood chamber, the honey supers here. So that's good. Rather than just looking at the top, it was quite useful to look down into the other honey supers as well. Makes you feel like you've got a better idea of what's going on in there. Let's have a look at this hive. We haven't opened this one yet. Come nice and close. I'm telling Jordan to come nice and close, as personally I like to see close-ups of the hive, and it's good to have a cameraman here so that we can have a look inside the hive. Yeah, this is a combination of comb that we'd left from a super that we left behind. There's some capped honey in here and some undrawn comb here, but the population in this hive is relatively low compared to the others, so this has a little way to go. Let's just back. Let's have a look, see what that super's like down here. About 15 pounds of honey here. And this deep, they're certainly working on very nicely. But we'll still leave it. Still plenty of room. None of them short of space. Okay, let's have a look and try and start taking some honey off over here. They're working on this very nicely. Nice even distribution of bees throughout the super. And yeah, this has a good 30 pounds of honey in it. It's about half full. This one looks about 2/3 full. They're just starting to cap the supers here, the frames there. In fact, I think on this hive we could put a medium on this hive, Jordan. So if we'll mount the camera here. Now, if you can do that, because otherwise I'll forget what we're doing. There's plenty of room in this hive, so we don't have to go any further with this one. Still a lot of room for honey storage in that. When you close that, if you point the camera towards here, you can pick up the camera for this. We'll see how these bees are doing. Now this was the hive that received the mean bees from the colony next to it. By now, the bees that have drifted from the other hive into this hive have pretty much died out. So these are all the pretty much all the progeny of the queen that was here originally. And this super here is full of honey. You can tell it's all capped. So we're going to be putting an escape board on this one. Just want to see what's below it. No, we probably won't put it in a skateboard because it's nice and warm. We'll probably give it a fume board treatment. And that way we can take it away and extract it later on. Oh boy, that's full. And this looks pretty full too. So, as expected, this hive is mostly full of honey. What we're going to do, take some supers off, then we'll put some supers back on. So why don't we'll put the camera down and we'll put a fume board on here. Okay, we'll go over to this hive here where the mean bees are as well, and we'll set up an escape board here as well. So I know this is likely to need honey taking off. Oh, let's start with smoke though. No point in tempting fate. So this colony had a new Saskatraz queen put in, but it still probably got quite a bit of the brood from the mean queen. But certainly that hive the other hive with all the field bees seem to be very calm. This one has a long way to go before this super is finished. Yeah, this is virtually empty, but that looks pretty full. So what I'm going to do is swap the position. We'll put a fume board on this one too. This is ready to come off. Get these off. Put this back on. Put this back on. Oh, we've got a fume board on that. So there are a few bees flying around the faces, but they're not too bad. Flying around the camera to some extent. Now, if you're comparing videos, these videos, now that I'm using the remote mic, won't tell you what the bees around the camera sound like, so it'll seem like they're quieter, but there's still a few mean bees in that hive. So we'll get another fume board and put it on that one. See if that ticks them off. It's good to see these bees evolving through the season, depending on how the treatments have gone. I'll be able to harvest that in 20 minutes or so. And in the meantime, let's have a look and see if we can find some hives that we haven't taken the honey off but could do. I'm suspecting these three, the bottom super, may not have been taken off yet. I don't expect to see much in the top, but at the deep, over the brood chamber, may be nearly ready. Now this hive has relatively a lower population. Well, it's about 15 pounds of honey in there. Oop. What's the brood chamber like? There's honey to take off there. We can put another medium on this before we put this on, so if you want to get that, that would be great. And if you also bring a fume board and put some liquid on the fume board and bring it here as well, please. Good 20 pounds of honey in there. Oh, maybe 25. Okay, we'll put that super straight on there. Did you put some more liquid on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we'll need another medium super for this one and the other fume board, I think. Put that super straight on there. I'll take that one off too. Okay, I'll see how this one looks. This is ready to take off. So we can get another medium super if there is one. Okay. Okay. Let's see how these are looking. Sounds like we can take the first super off. Yep. See, that's full of honey right down to the bottom. You get close up, you can see it's capped right down to the bottom. There still has some bees in it. So, take this to the truck. Ooh. Should bring the truck closer. I've got to work off a few pounds after eating so well in New Orleans. When I say a few pounds, I'm being kind to myself. This can come off. I think we can put another medium on that one and close that up. Okay, I'll take this away. Okay, well, I'm pooped out now. Right, Jordan? Yes. We took off more honey than I was expecting to take off. We probably took off about 500 pounds. And I think we will now close up shop for the day, take this loot home, and get it in the drying room for extracting later on. So, a truck pretty much full of honey. I say, give or take 100 pounds, we got about 500 pounds in there. So the honey flow is on. These supers were certainly less than half full about 10 days ago when I looked at them last. So there's a good deal. I wouldn't say that these supers were ones that had been started from empty while I was away. They were started at half full. One or two of them, like some of the deeps, were already nearing being half full by then. And so we've got quite a bit of honey to get out, a few bees to let escape. We'll be taking a few bees home with us today, but that's just the way it goes if you want to do it quickly. They can join my hives in the other side of Hamden. Anyway, that's it for now. I think shortly after getting home I'm going in the pool. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.